We tell ourselves a story, I just need a little more time, a little more experience, a little more preparation. It sounds responsible, even logical. But in reality, this belief is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. The idea of being ready is an illusion. We imagine that there will be a moment when everything aligns perfectly, when we have the right skills, the right mindset, the right opportunities all laid out in front of us. But ask yourself this, have you ever truly felt ready for the biggest moments in your life? Did you feel fully prepared the first time you stepped into a new role, moved to a new city, or took on a challenge that mattered to you? Probably not, and yet you figured it out. Readiness is not a prerequisite for action, it's a byproduct of it. We don't gain confidence by waiting until we feel secure. We gain confidence by taking action despite uncertainty. Every leader, entrepreneur, artist, and change maker who has ever achieved something meaningful didn't start because they were ready. They started because they refused to let waiting become their excuse. I think about how children learn to walk. They don't sit down, analyze the mechanics of movement, and wait for the perfect moment to stand up. They try, they stumble, they fall, and they get back up. Through action, they develop balance. Through balance, they develop confidence. And through confidence, they develop mastery. The same principle applies to everything in life. The fear of not being ready often masks something deeper, fear of failure. We tell ourselves we need more preparation because we're afraid of looking foolish, of making mistakes, of stepping into the unknown without guarantees. But what if we reframed failure? What if, instead of seeing it as something to avoid, we saw it as the necessary cost of growth? Every mistake you make is proof that you're trying. Every stumble is a step forward. Consider some of the most successful individuals in history. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Do you think any of them felt ready before taking that first step? No. They acted, they failed, they learned, and they adjusted. Waiting for the perfect moment is like standing at the edge of a swimming pool, waiting for the water to feel just right before you jump in. But here's the truth. The water never feels perfect from the edge. You have to jump. And once you're in, your body adjusts, you start moving, and suddenly you realize you were capable all along. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm not ready yet, challenge that thought. What if you took action anyway? What if you embraced the discomfort and trusted yourself to learn along the way? Because the truth is, the only way to be ready is to begin. Fear is rarely obvious. It doesn't always announce itself as panic or anxiety. More often it disguises itself as logic, as careful planning, as being realistic. It whispers in our ears, telling us to wait, to gather more information, to think things through just a little longer. And because it sounds reasonable, we listen. We convince ourselves that we're making smart, strategic decisions when, in reality, we are stalling. We tell ourselves things like, I just need more experience before I take on this project. Maybe I should wait until next year when the timing is better. What if I fail? I don't want to waste time on something that might not work. These thoughts sound like common sense, but in truth, they're fear's way of keeping us comfortable. The problem is that fear never runs out of reasons. If you listen to it, it will always find another excuse, another delay, another rational explanation for why now is not the right time. The more you feed it, the stronger it grows. Over time, fear disguised as logic becomes a habit. It conditions us to believe that hesitation is wisdom, that caution is always the safest bet. And in doing so, it steals our momentum. But let's be clear, fear is not the enemy. Fear is natural. It exists for a reason, to protect us. It is what kept our ancestors alive when faced with real danger. The issue is that our modern world rarely presents life or death situations. Most of the things we fear, public speaking, career changes, starting a business, putting ourselves out there, aren't fatal. Yet our brains react as if they are. What if we stopped treating fear as a stop sign and instead saw it as a signpost? What if, instead of assuming fear means stop, we interpreted it as pay attention? Because fear doesn't always mean you're in danger. Sometimes it means you're on the edge of something important. Think about the moments in your life when you were afraid but pushed forward anyway. The job interview that made you sweat, but you got through it. The difficult conversation you dreaded, but it strengthened your relationship. The opportunity that made you nervous, but you took it and grew because of it. Every meaningful experience you've ever had came with a level of fear. That's not a coincidence. The biggest risk isn't failing. The biggest risk is doing nothing. Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo. It fades, it teaches, it makes you stronger. Regret, on the other hand, is permanent. 5 years from now, you won't remember the sting of temporary failure, but you will remember the chances you didn't take. So the next time your mind presents you with a rational reason to hold back, pause. Ask yourself, is this wisdom or is this fear in disguise? If it's fear, lean in. Because the life you want exists just beyond the excuses fear is feeding. Every day we tell ourselves a story about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. These stories shape our beliefs, our actions, and ultimately, our lives. The problem is that most of us are telling ourselves the wrong story. I think about the voice in your head, the one that speaks the loudest when you're about to take a risk, step outside your comfort zone, or try something new. What does it say? You're not good enough. You'll probably fail. People like you don't succeed at things like this. These thoughts don't come from nowhere. They are a collection of everything we've been told, everything we've internalized, and everything we've feared. Maybe as a child, someone made you feel like you weren't smart enough, so now you hesitate to put yourself in situations where intelligence is required. Maybe you failed at something years ago, and now your brain uses that failure as proof that you'll fail again. Maybe you've spent so long underestimating yourself that doubt has become your default setting. Here's the truth. These stories are not facts. They are just narrative scripts that were handed to you by past experiences, by other people's opinions, by your own fears. And the best part, you have the power to rewrite them. Imagine a person who has convinced themselves they are bad with money. Maybe they grew up in a family that struggled financially, or maybe they made some bad decisions in the past. Because of this, they don't take control of their finances, they avoid learning about investing, they don't ask for raises because deep down, they believe they are simply not the kind of person who is financially successful. But this belief isn't based on reality. It's based on a story they keep repeating to themselves. If they change that narrative, if they started telling themselves, I am capable of learning how to manage my money, their behavior would follow. They would take action. They would improve. This applies to everything in life. If you believe you are not creative, you won't even try to develop creative skills. If you believe you are not leadership material, you will hesitate to step up. If you believe you are unlucky in relationships, you will sabotage good ones before they begin. Your story creates your reality. But here's the good news, you can change the story at any time. You can start replacing self-doubt with self-trust. You can challenge the negative beliefs and reframe them. Instead of, I'm not good at this, say, I am learning how to get better at this. Instead of, I always fail, say, every failure is teaching me something valuable. Instead of, I'm not worthy, say, I deserve success and happiness as much as anyone else. When you change the way you talk to yourself, everything changes. The stories we tell ourselves are powerful, but we are the authors. The moment you take control of your narrative, you take control of your future. One of the biggest reasons people hold themselves back is the belief that things have to be perfect before they start. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves before they take action. But here's the reality, perfection doesn't exist. And waiting for it is the fastest way to stay stuck. I think about how many dreams never get pursued, not because people aren't capable, but because they feel like they need to have everything figured out before they begin. How many people have wanted to start a business but kept researching and planning, waiting until they had the perfect idea? How many people have wanted to write a book but kept revising the first chapter instead of actually writing the whole thing? How many people have held back from speaking up, from taking a risk, from chasing an opportunity, simply because they felt they weren't ready enough? The truth is, progress beats perfection every single time. If you wait until you feel 100% ready, you will never start. The most successful people in the world didn't achieve greatness because they were perfect. They achieved it because they took action, even when things were messy, uncertain, and imperfect. Consider the way startups operate. When a new company launches a product, they don't wait until it's flawless. They release a minimum viable product, gather feedback, improve it, and keep refining. If they waited until everything was perfect before launching, they would never get off the ground. Life works the same way. You don't need the perfect plan to begin, you just need to start, adapt, and improve along the way. Perfectionism isn't a strength. It's a form of procrastination. It convinces you that you're being responsible, when in reality, you're just avoiding the discomfort of putting yourself out there. Because let's be honest, perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being enough. But the irony is that the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to start. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master was once an amateur. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, it's action. The ones who succeed are the ones who step forward despite the fear, despite the imperfection, despite not having all the answers. They take the leap and trust themselves to figure it out along the way. So what can you do today that moves you forward, even if it's not perfect? Send that email, make that phone call, write the first paragraph, apply for the job, share your idea. Whatever it is, take action. Because the world does not reward the person with the best plan. It rewards the person who does something. Momentum is more powerful than perfection. Once you start moving, you create energy, you build confidence, and you develop the skills you need along the way. The biggest mistake you can make is waiting, because while you wait for perfect, someone else is out there making progress.